Okay, hi. Demon Tree, I'm making this only for you because I'm tired of typing and something weird happens with my thumb. I hit on the keyboard something that makes the whole comment disappear, and this happened to me. This always happens to me also when something really good is being written, and it could not happen at the worst possible moment. Like, you just about found oil underground, you know, and somehow, right when you're about to uncover it and show everybody where the oil is, I hit that key, and nobody now will believe me because it disappeared. It's very weird, but anyways, I decided to tackle the problem. I expect the power to go off now or something, but anyways, I'll try. Okay, basically what I'm trying to describe to you is a basic condition that happens in the relationship between, in a dynamic relationship between two countries, in the very general sense, in the very generic sense. So what I was writing, which disappeared, was an example, a metaphor example that will illustrate this basic interaction dynamic that happens to countries through our human nature, basically, because of our human nature. So I was saying, imagine that there's a big valley that's unpopulated, and there are small clans, small tribes of families and extended families that start coming from different directions to populate this valley. They don't know each other. They're heading towards the same valley together. The valley represents the world, and each tribe and extended family represents a nation to be formed. So each clan, each extended family clan, and each small tribe has been alone in the world, somewhere else that's not this valley, and they have done things a certain way. Whenever there is disagreement and arguments or fighting, basically two camps get, as all arguments go, get formed. One will prevail, and the other one basically cannot have their idea win the argument. They cannot have their way of thinking take on the lead. So the other one that prevailed, the one that was popularly accepted as the ones who were right, or the ones who everybody will follow, will either continue being in the lead or take on the lead. But basically the other half will adapt for the sake of maintaining homogeneity of the clan. In other words, because the clan has always been alone, arguments and fights always result in whatever changes occur towards leadership. The argument or separations don't occur. Arguments just settle, and either there's a change of philosophy in the leadership, or the other half takes over, or the other third takes over, and everybody else falls in place and continues to stay together as a clan. So each tribe has not known what it is to separate themselves. Okay, this is about human nature. It's not so that we can imagine, well, where has that happened? Where has there been a country that never split up into because of a fight? No, that's not how the metaphor is supposed to work. So imagine that now these clans come to the valley, and they start taking on different areas of the valley. And they suddenly become aware of another people, another clan on the other end of the valley that's now there. They become suddenly aware of each other. So what happens? The situation rolls around again. There's a fight, there's an argument. Either the same ones that were in the lead win and continue leading, win the argument, or the new idea supported by a new group of people is liked more and takes on the lead, and there's a group that did not get to prevail in their argument, and they step back, about to join what they've always have become accustomed to, which is to settle again. And now there's been a change of leadership, and the clan stays together. Except that now there's a new situation. They are aware of another clan, other people, other human beings somewhere else. They can see them. They're far away, but they're aware of them. This is the new situation that is happening when they all when these clans started coming to the valley, which is analogous to saying countries are appearing as they are learning to travel, or the time that it takes to come back with the news that they discovered in other people becomes shorter. I mean, it's sort of, you can imagine this actually occurring in the evolution of civilization. So the new situation that occurs because of the awareness that there's others in the valley is that the ones that were left stewing because they really believe in their idea and it's not happening, the other ones were either more better believed by the rest of the clan, or they're stronger, or they make more sense and you're unable to prove them wrong. And so they kind of are left stewing in their, and they're not having been able to prevail. But the difference is that they're aware that there's other human beings out there, and that maybe those other human beings, those other people, could be a source for them to come back with a stronger argument, or to find strength to overrun. Because then, of course, there's a passion when you believe you're right and that you have the right idea for your clan or your country. It's not just about beating. People feel that's how politicians start. They have conviction. They really draw their passion from believing that what they're doing is the better direction for their country. Things get corrupt afterwards, and it's all about the power, and it becomes all about winning or beating the others. But in reality, vocational passion is true in human beings. So let's say they go out, they go out to get help from one of those other clans in the far ends of the valley. That is one situation. Now suddenly there is the possibility of acquiring more strength, a better argument, coming back, going at the fight again with your other half in the clan, and being able to win the leadership of the clan. That is one situation. The other situation that also appears, which is also new, is the following one. The leading half of the clan, the people that are in the leadership and have been leading the clan in the ways things have been getting done all this time, let's say get to a critical period. They can't fix a problem, or they need more of something. They can't continue to make things work the way they were before, because there's something missing, some substance, some people, some resource, or something is missing, or they have a problem, and so they start not performing as well as they were before. So there's a sort of a crisis that occurs in the clan. Up until then, before they were aware of other clans in the valley, also things get settled into integrity and unity, because what would happen is those that weren't in leadership will say, well, the way you've been doing things doesn't work anymore. We're going to do it our way, the way we used to do it hundreds of years ago, or we're going to do it this way instead. You guys move over, we're going to lead. Now there's a new situation. The ones that were leading and ran into a crisis or a problem they couldn't fix, rather than give in to the ones that are about to take them over in their own clan and start running the situation, know that there are others in another clan on the other end of the valley that could be a source for them repairing or obtaining the resources they need in order to continue making their way of doing things work and perform. So there's two new situations. two new situations that happen with each clan in the valley. Each new clan in the valley has these two situations arise in each clan, in each one of them, for the first time. Which means I may need more resources from one of these other clans. I'm going to go find out. Let's see who can help us before our worst half takes us over and starts running things. And at the same time, in another clan on the other side of the valley, they have the situation where we've been wanting to take over the first situation that I referred to. We've been wanting to start running things according to our new ideas, and we weren't able to win the argument, or we lost out when, you know, in that fight for leadership, and we were left stewing. And so we could use whatever we need in order to pick up the argument again, or take over and take charge and be the leaders of our clan, something that may come from that other clan on the other end of on that other end of the valley. So there's two needs of different nature that occur in each of the two clans. Let's say there's only two. There's many others, because so what you have is a situation of two that can start happening in various directions, like the world actually is. There are 200 nations. Each one has either one of these two situations, or both, or none, because that's what I'm getting at. Ideally, what we want is to maintain course like a ship. You know where you're going as a nation, as a people. You maintain integrity and unity. That would be, and a lot of people believe that that is the case with all nations, primarily that it never goes away, that's always there. But what happens is, upon the arisal of these two new forces, in awareness of other clans or other nations, there is a reciprocal need condition that occurs of different nature. One is, I need you for my resources, and the other one is, I need you for my leadership. And now we start seeing a little bit of what we may relate to colonial situations. When new nations in Latin America, for example, were breaking away from Spain, and they were barely able to run things, and barely they could make some tobacco. They could produce some tobacco. They could make some bricks, you know, to build houses. They had some armies and you know, badly trained people, and you know, some labor here and some ships there, and they were barely able to get their nations going, and they needed a lot. In that crisis, in that very poor, shabby situation, there were the leaders, and there were those that followed the leaders. Let's just say that's two general groups, although it's more like a small group of leaders and a large majority of people that follow. Let's just imagine a binary situation, to make the math, to make the arithmetic part of it understandable. So these new nations, their leadership was always being, as we know, these colonial ex-colonies were fighting for leadership. You know, one, no, let's do it this way, and they were warring a lot. And at the same time, we had countries that were rich and were doing a lot of things in Europe. They had been starting a lot of industries, a lot of things, a lot of complicated situations, and what they needed, there was more of the situation where their leaderships needed more resources to prove to the people that they were still in control, to continue having power. And so they needed what was held in South America by these new countries and in North America. They needed their stuff. And so in the Americas, you had people that were leadership hungry. They wanted support and help, cannons, money, to be able to stay in power. And in the other nations, there were more of the other end of the spectrum situation. There were people who needed a different kind of money, resources, natural resources, and other things. So what happens is that basically it's a condition of betrayal, because people want to take over power, they want to move the leadership over, so they go and buddy up, which is what, if you study colonial history, you see it all over the place. You see how there were two, the Unionists and the Federalists, and the English were always closer to one of these two, and those were the ones that would obtain ways that the English were already savvy in, political means and connections and transport and money in Europe and supporting Europe for what they wanted in turn, correct? So they would, in a sense, and that's why they call them cipayos in Argentina, as people that would betray the unity and the integrity of their own countries in order to try to take over leadership in their countries. It's not that they wanted to destroy their countries, it's that they wanted to be the ones in power. So they go and seek support outside of the country to try to gain power in their own countries. This sort of betrayal, the other half of the equation, which is the countries that are not so betraying in nature, they're not so needful in nature. They're leading countries, as we see in the world today, because in reality what they're doing is they're using the nature of things that they need in order to be richer, to have more power. They're more based on greed and wanting to keep getting bigger and richer. But they're in a sense they are betraying at a different spiritual level themselves as well, because instead of being like a righteous family that says we don't need to borrow money from our neighbor, we don't need to, we work, we pay for home bills, we do our own thing, we take resources from our own countries, we don't need to take the resources from Africa. You know, that would be the ideal of maintaining integrity and unity in that sense. But of course, that's this ideal of a world of all countries maintaining a complete integrity and unity does not exist. We have never known this. We have only known the big valley with these tribes that start giving in to our human nature. So they go and look for help, and then the other ones exploit their need for help by obtaining something from them. And this has always been the world. Essentially, everything that is happening in the world, in the Middle East, in South America, it all has to do it all has to do with this condition, which basically, simply said, is a world that has not learned yet how to maintain integrity, complete integrity, and of patriotic character. I don't know what to call it. Of sovereign character, of doing things for yourself with what you got, without using anybody or without crutching and leaning on anybody, and only sharing the excess in a no price tag collaboration, and a no price tag exchange, where we only give and then we receive, but not because we're negotiating. We're not because we're this brings in a whole host of interesting subjects. And for example, that we think trade and business and commerce is natural and good, and the Phoenicians did it, and we all are doing. This is how the world grows, and we have a lot of ideas that actually philosophically could be questioned again. Is our human nature adequate to be able to handle trading in righteous character? That means meaning not using, not exploiting, not betraying yourself in order to get power in your own country, or not using the weakness or the vulnerability of another country in order for you to get richer. You know, you could take it, you could make it a smaller scale, you could look at business in a city, you could look at how countries interact. Anyways, this essentially is what I was trying to explain to you, that this simple diagram of interaction, of dynamics, is very human, it's universal, it has always been around. We still have not learned how to conquer this lesser side of human nature in order for our countries not to have problems, not to end up justifying our excusing ourselves for invading or going to war and making a whole bunch of lies about each other, so that we don't admit this which we're actually doing, which is what I just described. Okay, hope this made sense. Only 20 minutes. Wow.